After having success with Dynasty Warriors 7, Koei wanted to continue the growth of this series. By expanding more on the story and the game's mechanics, Koei tried to give more spirit to Dynasty Warriors. On top of the small story and gameplay upgrades, there were more modes to play and replayability was exponentially increased. With that being said, some fans and critics were let down with the lack of upgrade as compared from Dynasty Warriors 6 to Dynasty Warriors 7. But how was the latest release? Well, funny you ask, because here's the first pro. I've mentioned either the gameplay or the story as the first pro for most of these reviews, and I'm going to continue that trend because the story mode in this game I feel fixes the few issues that I have with Dynasty Warriors 7's story, mainly that it didn't have a two-player option. You get to select from a few characters who are integral to the specific stage you're playing. When playing two-player, the second player also chooses from these characters. I find this is a great idea. Rather than letting player 2 pick from any character, it gives them more importance to the story stages. Free mode is back and better than ever. Most stages you can play on either side, which has always been fun. You don't have to stick to the force that the story stage was originally for. You also get 3 challenges with each stage. On top of that, you're ranked based on your time cleared, KOs, and other stats for a final rating. All this on top of even more DLC stages from Dynasty Warriors 4 and 5. You'll get a lot of play out of this one. Even with story and free mode, you also get ambition mode. In this mode, you play smaller stages and try to build your village up and make it something great. I complained about Dynasty Warriors 7's Conquest mode being a terrible replacement for free mode, but ambition mode does it right. There are 4 types of stages you can pick from that will help you get fame, gold, materials, or allies. So this gives you more incentive to play through these similar stages, plus you still have free mode if you get bored of the smaller stages. Con! Just like when we got Dynasty Warriors 5 after 4, Dynasty Warriors 8 looks very similar to Dynasty Warriors 7, which is sad to say because both Dynasty Warriors 6 and 7 updated the visuals quite a bit. There are minor improvements, but it looks like it's still running on the exact same engine. I was personally expecting a lot more out of this game visually. I wanted another good buff in the graphics department. I wanted to see them push the PS3 to the edge of its capabilities. Some characters even seem to have very similar looking costumes to Dynasty Warriors 7. I know you don't want to completely change the character design, but to me it looks like Wang Yi's costume is just an updated version of the DLC costume from Dynasty Warriors 7. Also, Chushu's costume hasn't changed from Dynasty Warriors 7 Empires, we just get a hooded version of it. Again, like with Dynasty Warriors 7, when you dress up your characters with the costumes from previous games, you start to see just how similar the games look. I did some research to find out that it's actually running on a different engine, which is supposed to use better lighting effects and make it look more realistic. Honestly, I can see it, but the models look the same. Pro! Now, even though I said I couldn't really see a difference in the graphical engines between Dynasty Warriors 7 and Dynasty Warriors 8, this game was also released on Vita and PS4, and here are the PS4 improvements. You can tell the character models are much more smooth. Everything reflects light as it should, meaning the engine that was built for this game really works well on the PS4. On top of that, I actually didn't carry over my save from PS3 to PS4 because I really wanted to experience the story all over again. It didn't help when I wanted to platinum this game, but we all make mistakes. As I mentioned, this game was released on Vita as well. This is a full port of the Extreme Legends Complete Edition from PS4, meaning you can take this entire game on the go. Not only that, but the Extreme Legends games are cross-save between PS3, PS4, and Vita, so you can also take your save file anywhere you need to be. I've been utilizing this a lot to get the Platinum Trophy. Also, for some reason, the PS4 trophies are separate from the PS3 and Vita trophies, meaning you get 2 Platinums. The PS4 and Vita releases are a combined package of the vanilla game with the Extreme Legends. The Extreme Legends expansion adds a hell of a lot to do. Similarly to Dynasty Warriors 3 Extreme Legends, they've added another faction to the story. This time, it's Lu Bu. That's right, the entire story is dedicated to Lu Bu. This story lasts just as long as the previous ones and covers Lu Bu's life from his initial adoption to his death at Xiapi. There are also what-if stories that show him taking on armies he's never battled before. The 3 main dynasties get a new character while Lu Bu's faction gains 2. Chen Gong, Lu Bu's strategist, makes an appearance. Lu Lingqi, who is a fictional name for an actual historical daughter of Lu Bu. Yeah, that's confusing. Along with the additions to the story mode, you also get an expansion on ambition mode. You are now taking the allies you've gained through this mode into bigger battles to take over the rest of China. This is almost a dumbed down version of Empires mode, and it's kind of cool for that. Instead of taking out rulers and claiming other armies' lands, instead you have subjugation. As you complete battles in different regions, you'll earn a subjugation percentage. Once the percentage reaches 100%, you have control over that region. All in all, the Extreme Legends expansions are really good here. Con! Oh God, help me. I've said it before that I'm trying to get the Platinum Trophy, and that I'm bouncing back and forth between the PS4 version and the Vita version to get this trophy. Well, there's a reason. This game is a completionist nightmare. First of all, with the Extreme Legends expansion, the level cap is raised to 150. Plus, each character has a leadership level for their bodyguards in free mode and ambition mode. Then I have to mention the secret weapons are back. Though this is exciting for me, it's another thing to add to the list of platinum requirements. Then the game expects you to complete every stage on the hardest difficulty. You also have to get an A ranking and complete the various extra tasks for each stage. This doesn't have to be done on any specific difficulty, but it's still really hard. Though it's refreshing to see the newest entry have so much going for it, I almost feel it's too much. It's too overwhelming. I get anxiety thinking about how many more stages I need to go through. How many more challenges do I need to complete? How long is it going to take to unlock one more trophy? Not gonna lie, I kinda like it. Only kinda. Pro! So I mentioned that secret weapons have made a comeback, but that's not the only change to weapons that's a good thing. First of all, every single character has been given their own independent weapon. That's right, no character has the same EX weapon like in Dynasty Warriors 7. We still have all the same weapons as previous entries. Some characters have been given the DLC weapons from Dynasty Warriors 7, while others have completely new weapons. Along with every character having their own EX weapon, we now have 2 EX attacks. This helps to incentivize you to keep the EX weapon equipped. You also have 3 different Musou attacks rather than just the 2. But most of all, the thing that I love about the new weapon system is the rock, paper, scissors aspect to it. Each weapon now has an affinity, either earth, man, or heaven. If you want, you can equip 2 weapons of the same affinity, but you'll be at a slight disadvantage. When you're running around the battlefield, you might see an enemy officer with a diamond-like icon above their head. This means that your affinity beats theirs. If you attack them for a long enough time and whittle down that icon, you'll perform a rush attack. If you don't see any icon, that means you're using the same affinity as that officer, and you don't get anything special from it. If you see a big exclamation point above their head, that means their affinity beats yours. If you attack them, you will not stagger them. They can attack through you and make you stagger. But if they perform a charge attack, they'll slow down for a bit and you'll be able to switch your weapon and gain a big boost to your stats for a short period of time. All of this makes it even better to switch between weapons as you play through this game. God! Just like every other Dynasty Warriors update, there are a few things that come with it that I just don't like. Let's start off with Empires. There's nothing inherently wrong with this entry. It's a solid game and has a lot to do in it, but 7 Empires was just better. I find this new Empires is a little more hollow. While Dynasty Warriors 7 Empires was filled to the brim with little things that make it feel like you're actually playing through the character's story, in 8 Empires, some of those little things are now lost. I loved going to town and buying clothes for custom characters, weapons and horses and so on. Now all this is done through menus. I also don't feel like there's as much interaction between you and your officers or peers. In 7 I found my characters would talk to each other or events would trigger more often than with 8. That being said, 8 is more of the same thing. Creating characters is still lots of fun. Playing through a game with these custom characters can be really interesting. You have more customization options, but I would still rather 7 Empires. There is something really good about Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires, and that's if you want to play the game and give it a try. There is a free-to-play version of this game on PS4 and Vita. I haven't played this, but I'd recommend it as a demo for the game if you'd like to try it. Another thing that bothered me was the DLC. Some of it was incredibly awesome. The older costumes from the previous games were lower priced than they were in Dynasty Warriors 7. That being said, I would have liked it if they gave it to the people who already owned it for 7, but whatever. I'll still pay for the extra costumes. The quote-unquote original costumes from Dynasty Warriors 7, however, are back to their usual prices. Also, there's only one real original costume set that's exclusive for Dynasty Warriors 8. The DLC stages are back, with some stages from Dynasty Warriors 4, 5, and 5 Extreme Legends, but not like with the Dynasty Warriors 2 stages from the previous entry. In 7, we got all the stages from Dynasty Warriors 2. I know it would have been a tall order for all the stages from Dynasty Warriors 4, but that would have been much nicer to maybe have the bigger stages that people experience than the odd one we actually get. Then there's the odd thing that really annoys me, like the fact that the horses turn really weird in the PS4 version. We also get the flowing cutscenes from the story in Dynasty Warriors 7, but they feel a little bit more janky, because even though you get to pick a character to play through these stages, you can obviously tell they want you to play as a specific character. When the camera pans behind the characters and switches back to the gameplay, the camera can kind of snap a bit and break the flow. I kind of would have rathered the old cutscenes that don't transition into the gameplay. Well, it's been a ride. Going through every Dynasty Warriors game from 2 to 8, it's been an adventure. Before I move on to give Dynasty Warriors 8 a final rating, I just wanted to say that I love all of these games. Even though 2 was a little boring for a while, it was still cool to experience the game again. Since I've been doing this retrospective look at the series, I'll remind you all of the scores so far. I found Dynasty Warriors 2 just didn't have much to do after you complete a couple of stories. There's a lot of grinding to just max out the people's stats, and there's not much to complete past that. Even though the groundwork was placed for future games, Dynasty Warriors 2 got a 4 out of 10. Dynasty Warriors 3 was the beginning of my love for this series. I found that all the additional collectibles and extra bits gave the game much more replayability. On top of all that, we got 2-player co-op. The Extreme Legends expansions gave us so much to do. Thanks to all those additions, Dynasty Warriors 3 got an 8 out of 10. Dynasty Warriors 4 solidified the groundwork that Dynasty Warriors 2 had placed, giving the characters more life by casting real voice actors and pushing the story even further by making it more about the factions rather than giving each character some stages from history. Though the Extreme Legends and Empires releases for this title didn't hit the mark that I wanted, I still love this entry. Dynasty Warriors 4 is my favorite of the classic Warriors era, and that's why I gave it 8.5 out of 10. Dynasty Warriors 5 was a mixed bag for me. Though it was fun and the Extreme Legends and Empires expansions added the most I've found so far in the series, I felt like it was just more of the same stuff. The graphics, though they looked a bit better, looked almost exactly the same to Dynasty Warriors 4. The lack of a 360 release of the vanilla game disappointed me so much. Even though this was still fun, I scored it lower based on the lack of innovation, so Dynasty Warriors 5 got a 7 out of 10. Dynasty Warriors 6 was Koei's attempt to listen to the critics. After being told their games were all the same repetitive gameplay over and over again, they wanted to reinvigorate the franchise with new life. They redesigned many of the characters and revamped the entire combat system. They also released an expanded version of this title exclusively for PS2, which all fell pretty flat. I still don't mind playing this game, but it was just too boring for me to continue with. I would go back to play previous titles instead, even when this was new. That's why Dynasty Warriors 6 got a 5 out of 10. Dynasty Warriors 7 was the reimagining the fans really needed, giving us a much more expanded story and character development, being able to switch from the plethora of weapons, plus the Empires title having so much more to offer the player, with various routes to travel and customization options that made your playthrough an individual journey. This release was the most fun I've had with Dynasty Warriors in a long time, probably since the release of Dynasty Warriors 4. That's why I gave it 8.5 out of 10. Finally, here we are, the latest entry in a series that doesn't seem to want to die, and I would be heartbroken if it did. Dynasty Warriors 8 is to 7 what 5 was to 4, more of the same. They did expand many things, giving characters more individuality by giving them their own weapons, everyone having 3 Musou attacks, and a second EX attack. Then we have the Extreme Legends expansion for the PS4 and Vita that gave us even more to do. The replayability for Dynasty Warriors 8 with the Extreme Legends expansion is something that most games can't even shake a stick at. If you plan to complete this game and have both a PS4 and a Vita, I'd highly recommend you getting both. You can transfer your save data back and forth between the two consoles, allowing you to pick up where you left off on the go. Though the Empire's release didn't quite hit the mark that 7 did, it was still enjoyable enough to recommend if you only have a PS4 and want to add more to your Dynasty Warriors 8, though I'd still recommend 7 above it as the best Empire's release. That being said, to end this week of Dynasty Warriors, I give Dynasty Warriors 8 along with Extreme Legends and Empires 9 out of 10. I honestly think this entry is the best Koei has to put out. Even though it was more of the same from Dynasty Warriors 7, I never felt compelled to go back and complete other games. 8 has a charm that keeps me coming back, and I know the last few trophies I need to claim to get the platinum for this trophy are going to take some iron will grinding to get, but I'm still going to enjoy coming back to this game to knock out a couple stages to get closer to that goal. In the end, I wanted to talk about the Dynasty Warriors franchise as a whole. As I said, I've been following this series since Dynasty Warriors 3 Extreme Legends. I've been buying up every release I can. So far, I haven't missed a single one. I've experienced every spin-off, and I've enjoyed my time with all of them. Thank you very much for coming along this journey with me. I hope you really enjoyed these videos. Please subscribe because I plan to make Musou May an annual event. I will continue to upload Koei Tecmo related videos throughout the year, but you can be guaranteed that every May there will be some extra stuff. Thanks again everyone, and I'll see you next month.